and welcome to another episode of Brentcast Transformers School. This is the second part of the Megatronus video, and this will be covering everything about the movie continuity. So, let's jump right into it. Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. 19,000 years ago, the Fallen accompanied his brother Primes to Earth in an attempt to harvest the star it orbited. Just as they had completed construction of the Star Harvester, however, the Fallen discovered a primitive race of hunters. The Primes invoked their rule of the sanctity of life and refused to activate the Harvester, but the Fallen despised the humans as simple insects and attempted to activate the Harvester. A great battle took place, but ultimately the Fallen was defeated and the remaining Primes hid themselves in the Matrix of Leadership, and the Fallen's Harvester was concealed within a pyramid in Egypt. The Fallen dispatched the Seekers to locate the Matrix, but they proved unable and he eventually abandoned them. The Fallen became known as the first Decepticon, and he became the master of Megatron, leader of the faction. He employed Megatron in the pursuit of the Allspark, but after Megatron's defeat at Mission City, the Allspark was reduced to a mere fragment. Upon Megatron's revival, he traveled to the Nemesis, where the Fallen stayed in a life support chair while Starscream oversaw the creation of a new army of Decepticons. Prostrating himself before the Fallen, Megatron said that he had failed his master in their race by allowing the Allspark to be destroyed. Amused by his disciples' misinformation, the Fallen revealed that the cube was merely a vessel, while the knowledge within the Allspark was instead placed within the mind of the human who had challenged Megatron, Sam Witwicky. With the knowledge within Sam's mind, they could find the Star Harvester and the Matrix needed to activate it. Megatron asked permission to avenge himself and reclaim the Allspark, but the Fallen asked for patience, though he could understand his desire, as the Fallen himself hungered to return to the wretched planet where his brother Primes had betrayed him. The Fallen also explained that the only threat to him was the last surviving Prime, Optimus Prime. Since Optimus would protect Sam, the Fallen ordered Megatron to capture the boy and draw out the Prime. Megatron's mission was partially successful. Although the boy escaped, Optimus came to defend him and died in the process. The Fallen sensed his death and was very pleased, knowing the time had come. When the Decepticons traveled to the Earth's surface in re-entry modes, the Fallen accompanied them, destroying an aircraft carrier as well as attacking several cities. As the aircraft carrier sank into the ocean, the Fallen quietly intoned that revenge was his. The Fallen tapped into Earth's communication network and announced the presence of the Transformers on Earth on worldwide television, demanding the human hive hand over Sam or be destroyed. Ultimately, Sam was in Egypt hunting for the Matrix of Leadership after being told it might be able to revive Optimus. He succeeded, but moments after Prime's resurrection, the Fallen appeared amongst the assorted Nest troops, scattering the soldiers, pinning Optimus, and stealing the Matrix. He then teleported to the now uncovered Harvester, and as he inserted the Matrix into the machine, he declared that his brothers had failed as he now claimed the sun. While it charged, the humans attempted to destroy the Harvester with their heavy weapons. Unimpressed with their display, the Fallen demonstrated his considerable power by destroying the attacking military forces with telekinesis, then raised a blockade of debris to prevent an airstrike. However, a super overpowered Optimus Prime, now fused with Jetfire, destroyed the Harvester and attacked the Fallen, sending them both falling to the ground below. Enraged, the Fallen commanded Optimus to join his brothers in death, and two engaged in a fierce duel. but it quickly became apparent that Optimus was strong enough to face the Fallen. Megatron attacked Optimus in an attempt to help his master, but was quickly overpowered and knocked out. The Fallen counterattacked Optimus, managing to rip off his left rocket thruster and strike him in the face with it. However, Optimus eventually managed to impale the Fallen through the shoulder with his own spear, then demanded his face, tearing it off. The Fallen tried to flee, but Optimus Prime punched through his chest and ripped out his spark core, finally killing the Fallen. Afterwards, a wounded and horrified Megatron fled with Starscream, and the Autobots and allies declared their victory. IDW Movie Comics. According to the Fallen, he and his brothers were the first creations of the Allspark. The planet that would become Cybertron was mostly barren, but the Allspark gradually shaped Cybertron around them and gave the Fallen and his brothers power beyond measure. The cube's own power was depleted. They learned that its power could be replenished by harvesting the energy of stars, but they were unable to locate new stars to suit their purpose, despite their amazing ability to travel between dimensions using triangular sarcophagi. As requested, the Fallen came to believe that the Allspark was speaking to him, telling him of a grander destiny than that of his brothers, picking him as its chosen one. To aid the dynasty of Primes in their quest, the Allspark created for them a race of workers that had a power of their own, the ability to transform their bodies into new forms. Some, called Seekers, could change into interstellar crafts that could locate stars for them, the energies of which would be harvested to power the Allspark by massive devices built by the workers. The dynasty tempered their search with the rule of sparing stars with inhabited worlds. But the Fallen believed that the dynasty's compassion would ultimately doom the Cybertronians to inevitable extinction. As he sought a way to fix this problem, the Fallen came to think evil thoughts. What if there were no other Primes to share the Allspark with? What if its power was his alone? The Fallen began to court some Transformers to his side. He selected a small number of the Constructicon drones to do his bidding in private, ultimately in service of subverting the dynasty of Primes in favor of his own agenda. He called his group the Decepticons. Jetfire, the Fallen's most trusted and capable seeker, began to unwittingly harvest the stars of inhabited star systems. The two would scan a system together, but the Fallen would report that his search areas were devoid of life. The practice got the Fallen and Jetfire in trouble with the other Primes, and so the Fallen began to sow the seeds of mistrust in Jetfire. He claimed the Primes' refusal to sacrifice life to save their own planet would be its downfall, and that an army had to be readied in case the Primes betrayed them all. The Fallen attempted to build a star harvester on his own, powered by a counterfeit matrix of leadership he had constructed. However, it was unstable, and the resulting explosion infused the Fallen with power he had never known. He now burned with dark, unimaginable powers from within. The Fallen, feeling a darker sense of purpose that complemented his dark powers, traveled from world to world, killing scores of organisms and assimilating their technology, and leaving the dry husks of planets in his wake. He evolved, and during his ascension he planned for the eventual battle with his brothers. As Jetfire joined the Decepticons, the Fallen took them to a planet named Earth, and they built a star harvester to claim the sun. However, it too harbored life. The Fallen was building the harvester there to either bait his brothers into taking action while he was prepared to kill them all, or to remain in limbo. Either way, he won. Jetfire finally turned against his master, just as the remaining Primes arrived, falling into the traitor's trap. The Fallen warped Jetfire and his other underlings away and faced his brothers alone. The battle between the Fallen and the other primes was costly. They did not expect the Fallen to have so much power. One by one they fell by his wretched hand. They had expanded his consciousness, absorbed the mental mass of a hive intelligence 70 trillion strong, probed the neural functions of creatures that swim in unrefined thought. Since they last met, he was so much more than they were. The Fallen was able to grab weapons from his stockpile through personal dimensional portals, and one by one he murdered his brothers until there was only one prime left who opposed him. With one last desperate gamble, the final prime fled, and he and the Fallen warped from location to location. The Fallen thought this prime was merely stalling, but he was gravely mistaken. The final prime had gathered up the bodies of his defeated brothers, and when at last he had collected them all, the Fallen was weak from over-teleportation. He used their combined life force to banish the Fallen forever. The Fallen was sent through his sarcophagus and trapped in another dimension, where he crashed into a desolate landscape, swearing revenge. Knowledge of this was lost through the ages, and the dynasty of primes became little more than a myth. Thousands of years later, however, the Fallen sarcophagus was unearthed on modern-day Cybertron and brought to the quarters of the planet's military leader Megatron. There, sensing the fury and resentment, the Fallen established contact with Megatron, filling him with a new resolve to destroy those who sought out the Allspark. In the aftermath of Megatron's ruthless battle against a band of aliens seeking the Allspark, the Fallen farther counseled him to seize control of Cybertron to make way for the Fallen's return. He also told him that Optimus sought the Allspark for himself, and Megatron immediately decided that Optimus and his followers deserved to be killed for this transgression. But simply taking this planet would not be enough. The Fallen also ordered Megatron to build a space cruiser to seek out the Matrix, which he said was a prerequisite to his return. As the ship's construction came to an end, the Fallen told Megatron the story of his origin and his plans regarding the Harvester on Earth. The Fallen ordered Megatron to put his sarcophagus on the ship, and then they stay behind to fight Optimus' forces and safeguard the Allspark. Soundwave and a majority of the Decepticon soldiers crewed this ship. Meanwhile, on Cybertron, civil war raged between Optimus' Autobots and Megatron's Decepticons, a war which inevitably led to the Allspark being launched into space. The Nemesis came across the Allspark's energy signature to Soundwave's disbelief. The Fallen began speaking to Soundwave just as a ship crashed into the Nemesis and disappeared once more through a portal. After landing the ship on a dead planet, Soundwave was commanded to pursue the ship via the portal that the Fallen recognized as a space bridge it left behind. Later, Megatron found the abandoned Nemesis during his pursuit of the Allspark. He once again spoke with the Fallen, who was furious that Megatron had taken this detour. He ordered him to resume the chase immediately, confident that the cube would guide them to the Harvester. Megatron obeyed, leaving the sarcophagus in the barren wreckage. Thousands of years later, Soundwave returned, having recovered a space bridge pillar from the Autobot ship. The Fallen informed Soundwave of Megatron's visit, and Soundwave deduced Megatron was one of Cybertron's rumored to held captive by the humans, prompting his return. The Fallen then used the pillar, warped space and time, leaving his prison at last. And with that concludes everything you need to know about Megatronus / the Fallen. This would have been way too long as one video, so splitting it up made more sense since he had such a prolific feature in the movie continuity. That's all I have to say, so thanks for listening and goodbye.